Why'd you call people?
I muted my phone. I accidentally tried to put on Do Not Disturb, but it started calling people instead.
Oh. Hey, welcome to
Are we
Dawn of
live?
Discussion.
Are we live?
We are indeed.
We're
It's
totally professional.
it's no one's favorite podcast with your two favorite hosts of this show, Guy and myself. Guy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, pal.
That's good.
How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. Not really made any calls recently. Um, yeah, pretty good. Been thinking of buying Black Ops Cold War recently. Cause
Oh yeah.
there was the free week
The
to play zombies and it was quite good.
yeah.
So I'm genuinely thinking about it, and like the couple, like maybe one or so times that we played online on the multiplayer as well when that was free was quite. It wasn't as good as Modern Warfare, but I still
No,
kind of want to get into it. The only problem that I have right now is that the game is like £60.
it's hella expensive. Yeah.
It really is, and honestly, like I don't know if I really want to spend that much money on a game that I only really want to play just a little bit of.
Yeah. I can feel you. I feel you on that.
Yeah,
It's game prices now these days generally do at times feel like stupid.
they are.
Generally, just the worst thing. Like I'm gonna open up Steam just quickly
Yeah.
because
They keep going up as well. Like every new console that comes out, the prices will go up.
yeah, uh, I guess that
I'm so
always kind of
certain.
happens in the end.
It does, yeah, yeah.
Like, like looking at like games that are currently on Steam. Actually,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
how much is Modern Warfare actually?
Modern Warfare isn't actually on Steam.
Oh, it's not. Yeah,
It's
they
on
have a lot of other ones.
it's on Battle.net.
Okay. So they've
Um
got Black Ops 3, Black Ops 2, World at War, Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, um, Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered. They have Call of Duty World War 2, Modern Warfare 3, Call of Duty United Defense,
what
Call of
the
Duty
fuck is
2.
that?
That's probably like one of the like remember like back in the day when they wanted to do DLCs but couldn't do DLC, so what they ended up doing was just like making its own
Oh,
game.
okay.
That's probably what it was. All right. I guess some like price, like talk about prices and things. Okay, here's one for you. Oh, and
Okay.
there's Call of Duty Infinite Warfare.
Which one, sorry?
Uh, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, which was like the really shit one, no one
Sure.
liked and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
everyone hated. Maybe not hate, but either way, people were like, well, why is this a thing? Anyway, so let's. Okay. Here's a question. Of the ones I've mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
which so once again, the entire Black Ops trilogy, World at War, the entire Modern Warfare trilogy, Infinite Warfare, World War II, and Call of Duty 2.
Sure.
Which of them do you think is the most expensive?
Most expensive.
Yeah,
Like in terms of like micro franchise or specific game?
the specific game.
Uh I don't know, Black Ops 3.
So this it is a draw between Black Ops 3 and Call of Duty World War II.
Okay.
From what I can see, yeah,
To be fair,
that's
World War II I think was the last game before they did Modern Warfare, so I can
yeah.
see that.
Advanced Warfare is so on, and so is Call of Duty Ghosts. Which, but yeah, uh,
Okay. How
they
much is it
both.
though? Oh,
So Call of Duty Black Ops 3
yeah.
costs £45, and World War II does as well. The
That is
next
still a little bit steep.
that is where I can like if Black Ops 3, if it was that much and it included all the DLCs,
No, then
maybe.
hands down, yeah. Okay, no, that's probably worth it because then what the Zombie Chronicles is like £25?
Yeah. Let me double check where because it is here. Yeah, it's £25.
Yeah,
Let me
so
check.
that would mean £20 for the base game. Yeah, absolutely. That's probably worth it.
Yeah, I'm gonna look up Black Ops 3 and see what it comes with. So there's the base edition, which from what I am able to gather just looking at the game, yeah, it appears that it is just the game. That is okay. So, Call of Duty Call of Duty Black Ops 3 multiplayer starter pack. That's £11, £12. Call of Duty Black Ops 3 Zombie Chronicles Edition is £45.
And that's for the game plus
the Zombie Chronicles DLC. Then there's Call of
Oh.
Duty Black Ops 3 Zombies Deluxe, which is 80 quid. And because Zombie Chronicles, bear in mind, only includes the classic maps from the previous Black Ops and World at War games, whereas I think Zombies Deluxe includes all those plus all the new maps, including the Giant, which isn't on the Zombie Chronicle one.
Before we continue on the subject, I just got word that a guest that we wanted to potentially have on has a spare couple of minutes. Should we have him on?
Sure, yeah, we can have him on.
Cool.
Yeah.
Then let's throw him into the call. Whoa, everything's fucked now on the screen. Here he comes. Hello, Josh. Can you?
Hello. How you doing?
How's it going? You're live.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, it's lovely to be on your podcast, and I guess we're talking about the madness that's going on with Wall Street bets and the meme stock explosion.
We weren't just yet.
Oh, then I apologize.
But we're happy to, because of your short amount of time for us today. We're happy to make a quick breaking situation.
Absolutely. Well, the breaking situation is this: 1 month ago, there was a stock for GameStore. Now, GameStore historically has been absolutely in the toilet, with internet downloads becoming the predominant way that people purchase their games. No need to go to a store if you can download it from the comfortability of your own home. It rose from $4 in January to $20 just before Christmas, and a huge amount, a big hedge fund managers felt that $20 was overvalued, that they could make a lot of money betting that the stock would go down and that they could bankrupt GameStop, the company.
Right.
Well, enter this dank little place on Reddit called Wall Street Bets. Now, I've been part of Wall Street Bets for the last 4 months. I got on there because I wanted to get some hot tips on water stocks, by the way. Keep your eyes open. Water stocks are going to be the next big thing. Basically, they just started saying, nah, we love GameStop. Fuck these people. I don't know if I can swear on this. If I can't, bleep me out.
Go ahead. You can, absolutely.
Wonderful.
We'd be more offended if you didn't, to be honest with you.
Wonderful. Yeah. Anyways, let me double down. They were like, fuck these cunts on Wall Street. Everyone who's got some money, buy the stock. And so you started off seeing these smaller people, 5, 10 grand, 15 grand here or there, until basically in June, someone called Deep Fucking Value, he's a user on Reddit, announced to the Wall Street Bets that he'd actually bought 50,000 shares at $4 a share. He sunk his entire net value into this one stock in June. He bought at $4 a share.
Yeah, just to kind of contextualize, that is $200,000, I'm guessing?
Yes,
$200,000 worth of stocks.
Yes, his portfolio now is in the hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is the biggest successful winner of this Wall Street Bets. And basically all they're doing is they're playing the hedge fund managers game against them. So all the hedge funds got together and said, right, we believe it is our position that GameStop is a shit stock and it doesn't deserve to be 20. Yeah?
Right.
So we're going to bet against it, and when we win, and when the stock goes back down to $4 or $5 a share, we will win this gamble that we've put in, and our returns will be huge. Yeah.
Right.
Well, unfortunately, the small acts of these sort of redditors on Reddit
Yeah, on Wall Street
snowballed
bets.
into people. Yeah, on Wall Street bets snowballed into people putting in all sorts of money, everything from just a few $100s up to tens of thousands. And then a situation called whale hunting started, which was Reddit basically was like, hey, listen, everyone who made loads of money off of Tesla being highly overvalued, take your gains from Tesla, dump it all into GME stock.
Right.
And then when it hit it hit $40 2 weeks ago, and it then made all the national newspapers, and people started talking about it on mainstream media.
Yeah.
Once it hit the mainstream media, you had people like the Citron Research Company, Melvin Capital, and Point72 come out and say, no, we're right, you're all retards, it's going down. And so the Wall Street bet people were like, right, I guess we must be retards then. And they now call themselves the Wall Street retards, and their job is to hold the stock until it reaches $420.69 because lol memes.
Yeah. So a quick question for you, because obviously Guy and I, when it comes to stocks, absolute leaks. What is what you called a hedge fund?
So a hedge fund is basically right. Let's say you are middle class and you want to have a very comfortable retirement package. Yeah.
Right.
Well, you've got your pension and it's sitting in a bank, yeah, and it's doing what 0.5% a year. You're never gonna get rich or make your money work making 0.5%, are you?
Of course.
So what you do is you take your pension, your money that you've saved up your entire life, yeah, your life savings, and you go to these fidelity companies on Wall Street called hedge funds. And what they'll do is they will take your money, and instead of put it in a bank where you only make 0.5% interest, they will bet your money on risky adventures or safe adventures, depending on what your appetite for profit is.
I see.
And they will make you money, and they will take 15% of the gain.
Right. So hedge fund people. Essentially. Sorry.
We're live. Yeah, but yeah, my Jamie says that sometimes it can be as low as 8%, depending on who you go and see. But it all depends on the quality. So, for instance, if you want Goldman Sachs to manage your portfolio, expect to part with a larger premium. The prestige of the hedge fund generally tends to align with how much of a fee they take. But that's how they make money.
Okay, and so these are the people who are essentially the ones who said GameStop is going down, like, let's bet against it.
Yeah, but I mean, so what they've got is they've got millions and millions of people's pensions, yeah? That's what they've got.
And that's what they're using to bet against.
And they are betting, as of today, £3.56 billion that GameStop is going to go in the toilet. And as of today, they've lost 1.6 of that already.
Wow.
What?
Okay.
Right.
Wow.
So it's incredible. So I know I'm talking like a machine gun, but I do have to run and play some Dungeons and Dragons in a minute, which I highly recommend to all of your listeners.
We can recommend Dungeons and Dragons on this game. Gambling, not so much.
No, obviously, anytime you're making a risky bet, your capital is at risk. I am not offering financial advice. I'm just explaining a situation. What we find ourselves in now is called a short squeeze, which, when done by financial institutions, is actually illegal. What we're looking at is the inflation of a stock, because people like the stock. They buy the stock, which raises the stock's value, and then they never sell. So because you can't create more stock, there is a finite amount of stock until, like, GameStop decides to devalue itself and, like, sell more stock, which they're just not going to do.
Of course.
So if you hold on to a finite amount of stock and there is an appetite for people wanting to buy, the price organically rises. So on Reddit, you have this idea, which is called diamond hand, which is, if you are wealthy enough to be able to sink large amounts of money into GameStop and it won't affect your day-to-day life, do so and just never sell it. Yeah, just never hold on. And then they're saying for the people who are poor or who need money fast, you are allowed to be paper hand. You can hold on until you make a significant gain and sell, and you will be covered by the people who by the people who are diamond hands.
Yeah, that's gonna be me soon.
Yeah, which is fine because there are
Yeah.
plenty of diamond hands in there. And now that Elon Musk is bought in,
Yeah.
Elon Musk with one tweet single-handedly rose the stock's value by about 70%.
Yeah, it literally happened overnight, and I kicked myself for not getting on that earlier.
Also, the market's not closed yet, but Tesla has an earnings call today. I have a fair amount of money in Tesla. I am interested to see if they are going to split the stock. Now, splitting the stock basically means that they're going to double the amount of stock and reduce the stock by half. So I'm not losing money, but what I am doing is I'm gaining double the amount of stock in Tesla. So we are going, really interesting news coming out of Tesla. Tesla is in a bubble at the moment. There is no way Tesla stock should be $800 a share.
Right.
But we shall see how it all pans out after today's earnings call. For more information, go on to Wall Street Bets and Reddit. It's a bit crazy in there. It's a bit fun. There's lots of strange terms like tendies and to the moon and the rest of it. But stick around. You'll figure it out in time. And the next stocks seem to be Palantir and
AMC,
and Nokia and and BlackBerry. BlackBerry kicked off today. BlackBerry's got I think it's 40% up at the time of recording.
Wow.
Well.
So it stinks of money, lads.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, anyway, I've been Josh, and you have a really great time. I hope to be on your podcast again soon.
Thank you very much, man. Hope so.
Good luck and be lucky.
Cool. Have fun with your game, man.
Cheers, geezer. Ta-da.
Yeah, have fun, Josh, and thanks for coming and
absolutely
for imparting your otherworldly knowledge.
I know. Just consider me an absolute shaman, lads.
We will for now.
Absolutely. You're going to have to hang up on me because I'm on my laptop and I have no idea how to hang up.
That's fine. I'll remove from the group.
Cheers.
There he goes.
Yeah.
Fuck. I mean, I'm happy he came on, but I'm so, my head is like spinning.
Yeah. To any viewer watching this currently, we will be going into that with a bit more detail later.
After the fact, because again, like Josh said, capital at risk. We can't tell you to invest. We can recommend you to go to Wall Street Bets, the Reddit page if you're into that sort of thing. I will tell you, I did invest into it, and my profit margin currently is like £26, so it's really nothing to speak of. Yeah, it's because I'm playing with pussy numbers, man. Like I only invested like £500 because this is the amount of money that I can kind of lose and not be too beat up over it, because like I've got money coming on Friday since it's payday, and I did a couple of extra days to kind of cover this, so it's not the worst thing in the world. But literally, so I talked to Josh earlier this morning. He actually advised me like how to get into this whole thing, and he said that there's essentially two broker apps that you can use if you don't have that much capital, which is eToro and Trading 212. I tried eToro and it asked for my fucking password information, and after I gave it as well, like it didn't even work. So I said, no, I'm not doing this. So I decided to go with Trading 212, and then as soon as the market opened, I invested, but then wanted to cancel because I thought, because I saw the spike from like $150 a share to like 300 overnight because of the Elon Musk tweet. So I said, okay, well, there's clearly a dip coming, so I should probably sell now. I tried to cancel, or I should probably cancel my investment. I tried, and then the app froze. And then when I restarted, I found out that the servers were down for Trading 212 because everyone was trying to get in on this. And so now, I basically found their website, and there was a situation there. Like there was a post saying like, oh, we're having issues. It might take some time to get it back up. You might not be able to log in. By the way, this does not affect pending orders. And I was like, fuck, it doesn't? Did my cancellation order go through? And so now the whole bet was like two-dimensional. Because it goes up and it goes down. But now the question was, am I in or am I out? And I have no control and I have no idea. Turns out I was in. So here we are now. I'm 36 pounds up. I was 100 pounds up earlier today, but obviously that went down. And, everyone's saying, like, no, you got to stick with it because it's going to go up to like 420 or something stupid like that. So it's like, well, okay, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how this goes. And I think because I was briefly talking to my dad at dinner about this sort of stuff, and basically the consensus is this is going to become a new big thing now. Like these sort of, you know, the stocks will go down, but then people are just going to come in basically and raise the
yeah,
stock's value as much as
just
they can,
fucking
essentially.
reinvigorated.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's going to become more and more of a thing, I
Yeah.
think, as time goes on.
I will say, Reddit in that sense is showing very typical behavior because Reddit,
Oh
as
yeah.
most people know, is just the natural evolution of 4chan. Like
Yep.
4chan was a thing back then, like what, more than 5 years ago.
Yeah, roughly sort of like
And
that sort of.
as far as I'm aware, like everyone who was on 4chan, like when it went out, abandoned ship and just kind of naturally over time migrated to Reddit. So
When
Reddit,
when the 4chan stock went down.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So
Oh.
so basically, when 4chan kind of died, everyone kind of moved over to Reddit. So the majority of like people that you will find on Reddit, it's almost like a lighter version of Reddit because there's definitely like some Reddit pages that you can go to without finding these kind of people.
Yeah.
But the majority, especially on Wall Street Bets, is predominantly 4chan people.
Yeah.
And the behavior that they have, like the kind of anarchistic kind of behavior that they have in this regard, very typical.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Like I guess it's just one of those it's such a weird situation to talk about with like because like Reddit the thing is in the end it is filled with smart people who know how to work the system, but it is in the end it is I think to an extent a real risky thing.
it is.
And because they are essentially raising all this and people are going to notice and think, oh, this is funny because it's a meme because 420.69 is the stock price and think, oh, we'll invest in it. And you think these the, like as we've mentioned, we don't don't recommend gambling, and this is
No, no,
essentially
no.
what it is. But these are essentially the people who are gambling or who started it are Redditeers essentially,
Mm-hmm.
but with the ability that essentially if this was gambling in Las Vegas with playing cards, these are the guys that know how to count the cards.
Yes.
And everyone else at the table has no idea and it's just they're trying to make a quick buck.
I will say
So
they are making a conscious effort of making sure that other people are in on how to kind of count the cards as well.
yeah, which I think that is a great thing in the sense, but it's still
Yeah.
obviously we can go on and on about like how risky it is in the end,
Yeah.
but of course it's risky.
I will say some of the stuff on there is quite wholesome. Because
Okay.
there's people who like they really went with the bets and they really like went with the recommendations of people. And some of the stuff that has come out is it's nice to read. Like for instance this one. Let me get that one on the screen real quick. This is on Wall Street Bets. The guy is saying, I can now write my mom a check and put my sister through Lyme's treatment. This has been a very rough year, but I'm so thankful for every single one of you. And then he got 64,000 out of this whole adventure. He went up by 340%.
Yeah.
Right? Which is beautiful because he's actually putting that money into like helping his family out.
Yeah.
And I believe there was another one. Ah, here. Monday afternoon, I took my best friend, an American bully, 2.5-year-old dog, to the vet because he wasn't putting any weight on his back leg. Turns out he needed knee surgery that costed $4,000. I broke down because I didn't have that much. I didn't qualify for the payment plan, and it was either the surgery or wait till is, what is that saying? Because I can't read on the small screen. How the
Uh,
new blew
sorry.
out, and then put him to sleep. I put all the
Yeah,
money.
wait till the knee blew out
Yeah,
and put him to sleep.
here
I
you
put
go.
all my money I did have in GME, which
That's
was
GameStop.
around $97 share of
Mm-hmm.
AMC at $4.84 on Tuesday morning, a little less than 1K, with an exit plan to get out once I had enough for his surgery. This morning, after opening up TPL surgery, I am in tears and really grateful. Thank you to everyone and good luck.
Yeah. So literally, like, if this hadn't happened, he would pretty much have to put his dog down,
Yeah.
right? So some good does come of this, and I think it is great that people on this Reddit page are kind of sharing the wealth in that regard.
Yeah. And I think
And
that's the thing as well, is this is a very weird situation to be in because we do have to be kind of honest in the sense about Reddit and everything. Reddit is not always the nicest place to be.
no,
There
absolutely
are
not.
there are some real assholes on Reddit. So it's a weird situation to be in finally where not everyone on there is being a cunt,
Yeah.
essentially. And they're all kind of saying, look, we're all in this together. There are these people who are trying to put essentially GameStop, into basically reduce it to nothing, and we're just going to go against it. If people want to join and invest, they can, and that's basically all it is. Just saying, look, this is what we're doing, and that's it. And it's a good thing for that reason.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So that's really that. But speaking of GameStop, let's get back to talking about games.
games. I actually, I want to look up prices for games at Game
At Game, yeah,
because
that's
that's
fine.
going to
Because we want to check on other consoles as well. Because
mean,
PC games, I'll be honest, are
yeah,
kind of homogenous. Like they'll range between £60 to £50. For the
yeah,
most part, to kind of stick around that area. But still, like because of it, I'm so hesitant on getting new games. Like all of the games that came out at the end of last year, I just did not get,
yeah.
and there were a lot. Like there was
Uh,
Cyberpunk.
so just yeah. Well, to be fair, we dodged a bullet with that one in the end, which to be fair, we can probably talk about Cyberpunk in a bit, but
Yeah.
yeah, that was
Oh, that's one thing I wouldn't
a
invest in.
real nah. So just wait one sec. I want to check out like the prices for like some of the consoles. I'm going to check out the price for the PlayStation 5 because as we've kind of talked about, I think it might have been you or someone I know who said they walked by a game store
I did, yeah. I
where
think
there yeah, and it was like
when the
800
PS5 came
quid.
out. Oh no,
Yeah,
yeah, this was fuck. When was this? This was when we went to Shepherd's
Westfield.
Bush. Yeah, Westfield.
Yeah,
We went into Sex because that's how it's called apparently. But
yeah.
I'm gonna call it CEX for all you leaks out there who pronounce things by their acronym. Um, which is actually the correct pronunciation as far as I'm aware. Um,
Yeah,
literally, this was early December, like just after the second lockdown.
yeah,
So the PS5 was just out, but it was out of stock as well. And there was one at CEX for like £800, like right there
yeah,
in the window. And it's like, Jesus Christ,
yeah,
£800 for a console that is, by the way, uh, second hand because it was
yeah.
outside of the box.
To be fair, secondhand at there, probably not that much risk, I would argue.
I mean, they realistically only used it for maybe a day or two.
Even if that, because you could argue this person probably bought it and then sold it to them for an inflated price. So what it cost, unfortunately, it's still out of stock at Game, so there's no price detailing. So I'm just going to look up the PS5 price. Shopping. Of course, it's just giving me all the fucking stupid thing.
Oh yeah.
There's just quickly, I found one on eBay for $779.
Of course, yeah. Why not?
£20. Yeah, but the
The shipping
Well, it
prices
was
must be
okay. Oh, so
nuts.
here we go. So the wait is over. The Sony the price was originally PS5 was $499, and that's for the disc version. The digital version was $399.
Right.
So essentially, and what I'm trying to now figure out fucking dollars to the pound because apparently the dollars to pound.
I'm
It
not
would just be
entirely
easier if I
sure.
look up the actual one. So what it was 499. So $499 would go with the most expensive one is 364 pounds and 52 pence. So it'd be about what 365 pounds probably
Yeah.
in the end. Maybe 365.99. So in the end, if you look at it that way in a sense, and then you said there was one for 800 quid. So
That was
let's
back then, though. I have no idea if it's still there.
Oh, I mean, well,
I can
even
have
if
a
it isn't
look.
still there, but okay. So £800 is roughly around $1,095. Like
Huh.
the prices for these fucking things just
CEX
blew up.
is selling it for 314. That's the all digital version.
Okay, 340. Yeah, I guess in the end, prices will always vary for stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So
That's a regular sort of price though for a PS5.
yeah, that is a very regular sort of price. So I wonder if maybe CAX has got them in stock and game just hasn't caught up yet, or maybe game is just waiting and buying its time for whatever reason.
Maybe.
So what?
Oh yeah, no, they've still got them for like £800 as well.
Yeah.
And there's seemingly no difference other than the fact that it's got a box, and that's about it.
So to looking at it, and I'm just looking at like all the current games that are out for the PS4. So
Yeah.
Cyberpunk is still $54.99, which gotta admit, I think that's kind of ballsy to have it still set at that price, considering everything
Well,
it's
for
gone through.
PlayStation,
Yeah, for PS4.
has it been patched?
I have no idea. Has
Good.
it?
I don't think
You
it
look
has.
that up.
Okay, I will. Oops. Cyberpunk. PS. Any news? Nope. I just see a top story that says Cyberpunk 2077 gets another update that will make PS4 and Xbox One users jealous.
Oh, okay.
Cyberpunk 2077 crashing issues persist on PS5 and PS4 following update 1.10. That was 2 days ago. So it has been patched, but not properly.
I got a message from Tammy on Discord saying don't talk shit about Keanu.
What?
About Keanu Reeves because he's in Cyberpunk 2077. And Tammy just sent me a message just saying don't talk smack about Keanu Reeves. That was it. That's all. Just wanted to interject that.
I'll talk about Keanu Reeves however the hell I please.
Be very careful. Yeah, that man is an international treasure. We're not talking smack about him. We're talking smack about the game, for what it's worth.
Yeah. To be fair, as far as I'm aware, he's not even in the game all that much.
No.
So, it is whatever.
But so just looking at it, just looking at other games, and this is I think this is kind of interesting. So the Assassin's Creed Valhalla Drakkar Edition UK retail exclusive is £57.99, whereas
Okay.
Watchdog Legion Resistance Edition, which I assume probably means they're roughly the same sort of level, game
Sure.
exclusive, is £42.99. Now, bear in mind there is one Watchdog Legion version which is above that, which is the Ultimate Edition, which is 60 quid essentially. But
Really?
I find it
That's gone down
interesting
really quick then, because the game is only like what, 2 months
that,
old?
to be fair, from what I've gathered, I don't think Watchdog Legion has done particularly well.
No, and that will affect the price as well.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas I think Valhalla has done spectacularly well. I think for most things. So Assassin's Creed Valhalla, the base game edition. This is just the regular one. It's $54.99. that's still more expensive than the Watchdog Legion Resistance Edition. I mean,
Yeah, that's pretty.
I gotta say, in terms of talking about game prices, I hate that the base version of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, basically 55 pounds, versus the special edition, which is 58 pounds. What, £3 difference? Like,
Something like
seriously?
that, yeah.
What's the point? Why?
Just go for it, man.
Like,
Just get the better
yeah, there's
version.
just no point in getting the base game edition at that point. There really is just no point.
I think that's what they're trying to do though, is basically like sell the better version at a slightly higher price, because they
Yeah,
know that's the way that they can get people to. And selling the content itself, like, you know
yeah,
the product itself is digital, so they're not losing that much like product over it if you
yeah,
buy the better version. The only
yeah.
time
That's
that I
true.
would say is if you have like a physical edition. That's when it really starts to make an issue. But if it's like a digital version predominantly, then they're not going to lose that much
Yeah,
over it.
of course.
Um, Speaking of digital games, though, I'm predominantly a PC gamer, right?
Yeah,
But I think
I
this phenomenon, I think exists on console as well. Let's say Call of Duty Black Ops, right? £60, bit much.
yeah,
As a consumer, I can go to one of these so-called key shops, right?
yeah.
Now, a key shop is a online website that sells digital keys for like Steam or something like that, or any platform, really, when you think about it.
Yeah.
And they will sell you a key for the game at a much lower price,
Okay.
right? So a friend of mine basically swears by it, right? He will basically buy any game via key shop because it's cheaper that way. And I understand, he doesn't really have a job, he's studying and stuff like that. He doesn't have the money to afford games
Yeah,
on the regular. That's fine. And you think to yourself as well, like, as a consumer, there's very little reason not to do this.
yeah.
However, a couple of years ago, there was a particular key shop that came under fire, which I think is G2A, because apparently the money that they make off of the keys doesn't go to the developers at all, right? So they basically sell
Uh,
the keys that they've acquired somehow, and then they turn a profit off of it by just not paying the person that the key is supposedly from,
okay.
which is scummy.
Okay. Yeah, that's a real shit move.
It is. And so basically because of that, I I'll be honest, I find the option of key shops very, very tempting. Because for instance, Black Ops Cold War, I can find in a key shop for about £35.
Yeah,
And that's decent.
yeah.
But if I pay them, I don't know that my money is actually going to,
A
Activision and
developer.
Hyman Students and Beanox and all those companies that
Yeah,
actually worked on the game.
yeah,
So there's a moral question here of like, should you like go for the cheaper option because you find it a more reasonable price, but at
yeah,
risk of not having the money go to the developer?
yeah. I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. Yeah,
Deadpool's
just for a bit.
advocate.
Yeah, I usually detest all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I am vastly against it typically, especially mainly more pirating, taking stuff for free because I just think you know it. You need to pay the people who make this stuff. Otherwise, if they stop getting paid, they stop making it, and then you don't get it anymore, and you're left sitting there thinking, "Why am I not finding any new stuff?" Well, that's on you.
Yeah.
But there's only if it came to a key shop, there's only one series of games I'd probably get from there. And it's not to do with the game series. It's more to do with the guys who make the games, and that's EA. The rest, I
Yeah, I know what you mean.
pause and take a second thought and may think maybe not. But then, if I saw an EA game in there, and I would ask myself, is this good for the is this good for the player? And I would go, yes, yes, it is EA.
I
And you
will
can
say
fuck.
the only reason why I won't do that is because I do have EA Origin Access for like £20 a year,
I
which I
wish
might
you
cancel
guys-
soon anyway because most of their games are on Steam as well. So and
Yeah.
the Steam offers the same thing where like for a 20 quid a year subscription, you can get any EA game on Steam for free.
Yeah.
Or well, at least in the catalog.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's a fucking steal in and of itself because there's so many
Yeah.
games on their EA store that I want, and it's the only way that I've actually played Anthem because there's no way I'm paying any sort of money for that piece of
Oh
shit.
no, fuck that. Anthem is a piece of shit, and you shouldn't spend any money on. But yeah, it's one of those things where I think there are certain. It's more to do with the developer rather than with the actual anything else. Because I think some developers are scummy and they kind of have it coming.
Yeah,
But then there are others where I think, nah, that's not true. So
I mean Activision. You know,
Activision is scummy, but I don't think it's reached the same heights as EA. And I honestly don't think it ever will. I think Activision comes across as, I think, a tiny little bit more self-aware enough to know that if they turned
Yeah.
into Activision, it would. I mean, not Activision. If they turned into EA, it would end poorly for them.
well, they
And
just sometimes make shit that doesn't work.
yeah, like I think EA currently has the worst track record of releasing massive AAA games that are unfinished.
Oh yeah,
Currently, they've just you look at it, their record. They released Anthem. They released
Mass
which one?
Effect Andromeda.
Mass Effect Andromeda. That was the one. Thank you. And there was one. Oh, Battlefront 2 was another one. That was
Yeah.
the one that started to.
That one
I
made
think,
that one. They fixed that. They made it
yeah,
better.
they did. And to be fair, they did fix it, and it's reached that stage now where DICE has actually, I think, come out and said that they shouldn't have dropped it and they should have kept going with it, producing new content. They actually apologized because it's getting a surge in player base, and they actually went back and said, "Look, we're sorry, and we should
can
have
do
produced
better.
more content. We will do better next time." With
Yeah.
actually, I don't think they're even doing the next Battlefront. To be fair,
No, I think they focused on a completely different game, Squadrons or
no,
something like that.
I think it's not even just that. I think the contract between Disney and EA is over. I don't think EA renewed it. I mean, I don't think Disney renewed it. So
Oh, that's wild.
yeah, that was a big thing in some of the news I saw the other week. Like that, yeah, essentially Disney said they're going to do it in house at Lucasfilm Games or LucasArts, and I was like, well, that's great, because I think it makes sense that they do it in house. But I think DICE did get Battlefront to a respectable position, so I'm a little worried. But yeah, it's gonna be, and I don't know how because I know they're doing a sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, so I don't know how that's gonna work. Whether it's gonna be done
It might
at
not happen.
LucasArts or I think that'd be a shame though, because it's such a great game.
The
I
problem
think
is how are you going to share the rights between EA and whoever makes the game next?
ooh, it could be a possibility that essentially what happens is, and it wouldn't surprise me if Disney pushed this, if they essentially split the cost. They say, look, we'll put half of the money for the budget in, and they'll say, EA, you will help make the game. You will be the main developers, and you put the other half of the money in. Something like that, where it's still a LucasArts, and it's essentially it's like when two studios come together to make a film, but in this case, it's going to be a game. It wouldn't surprise me if that's the route they go for, because Jedi Fallen Order it's not a gold mine, and it doesn't do anything spectacular. It's not a Game of the Year contender by any means, but it was such a positive note for, I think, Star Wars gaming fans that they realized that this was basically them getting what they've been asking for a while now.
Yeah. Well, actually, one of the things that is probably worth mentioning because it's become weirdly related. Did you see the news from Ubisoft that they are working with Star Wars to make a
Yeah.
massive like open world? Is it online?
Yep. I don't think it will be online though.
It'll be a massive open world Star Wars game though.
Yeah. To
And
be
if they
fair,
pull that off to be good, that would be fucking stellar.
yeah, absolutely.
Interstellar
I will be. Jesus. All
I'd
right,
sneak
sorry.
it in there.
But to be fair, does make sense that if Disney and LucasArts were the one that approached Ubisoft, it does make sense they went to them. Because you look at Ubisoft in recent times, they produced, Assassin's Creed. They've now made Watch Dogs, and they've turned Ghost Recon, better or worse, into a open world game, single
Sure.
player game. And
Or
obviously then
multiplayer.
there's the Division.
Yes.
So Ubisoft has found a market for themselves, and that
Well,
is the third person shooter style, not always loot based, but kind of loot based,
yeah, predominantly.
predominantly. Um,
Well, you might like this
open,
then. The
yeah,
people making this Star Wars game is specifically, what's the name? Massive Entertainment, which is the people who made the Division.
okay,
So if we get
hmm,
like a Star Wars style Division game, I'm on board
yeah,
because I think the Division 2 was great fun. I mean, not that great to play on your own, but with like if you're playing with other people, great fun.
yeah, yeah. I think going to Ubisoft for this was the smart move. It was the right
Oh
thing
yeah.
for them to do, because Ubisoft they've gotten it right so far. I mean, I've been playing a little bit of Watchdog Legion. I'm thinking, yeah, this is a fun game, and I like the style, and I liked Assassin's Creed Valhalla a lot. I haven't finished it, but I think it's a fantastic
Yeah.
game, and I liked Odyssey as well.
Odyssey
So I
was
think I
great.
think they've gotten that brilliant niche now, and I think the
Yeah.
thing is, I think when you look at the guys who make the Division, if you look at especially what they've done with Assassin's Creed and that style of contemporary, but also this fantasy element, like, oh, it's kind of these, they've been introducing more and more of like the gods and these almighty,
Yeah.
otherworldly weapons. I think that
And
they've
these
kind of,
otherworldly realms that you can travel to as well.
yeah, exactly, like they've found a very good, like, they've just found something that works. And I think they're kind of, and I think also you look at it, I mean, how many of the worlds are directly connected? I mean, it's been confirmed now that Rainbow Six and Ghost Recon exist in the same world, and that, what was it,
Assassin's Creed and Watch
Assassin's
Dogs.
Creed and Watch Dogs is part of the same world. So far, the only one that hasn't been confirmed is the Division. And to be fair, that is a post-apocalyptic world scenario, so
Yeah.
that does kind of make sense.
I mean, it could still be related to Watch Dogs, I guess.
Yeah, true.
I think there was a theory as well, but I'm not entirely sure about it now.
I'm sure in some way you could find a
Yeah,
connection.
I think something about DedSec had something to do with the world turning out to be however it turned out to be.
Yeah. Or maybe DedSec became the Division, like, who knows?
Yeah, who
Who knows?
knows really?
But I think Disney essentially divorcing from EA was a good idea, because I mean, obviously Disney is a money-making machine, and so is EA.
Oh yeah,
But the main
EA
difference
less
is,
so though because the meme is too strong about them making shitty games, and
yeah,
even more so just not
yeah.
fixing them.
To be fair, it's not even just, I think, because I've got this whole theory, because I think there's only, I'll be honest, I think there's probably one particular IP in general that is keeping EA afloat, or it had been for a long time. I'm not sure if it is still anymore, but going back to it, is that the issue is, I mean, Bob Iger from Disney, he was a
Yeah.
godsend for Disney. Like, he was a visionary man, and he still kind of cared about producing great films.
Mm.
He still gave a shit, and I think that is what worked well for Disney. Whereas I can't remember the name of the CEO for fucking EA, but he's now just come across as such a slimy, lying cunt.
Yeah,
Essentially, he's
also
come
a bit indecisive as well.
yeah, like
I mean, all of
yeah,
them.
but in terms of like the IPs, I think is the one that is, or for a very very long time was producing money for EA, was FIFA, and it
Yeah.
wasn't to do with the sales of just the game. It was to do with Ultimate Team and
Yeah,
microtransactions.
any sports game at this point as well, actually. Like FIFA was the
Yeah,
biggest one, But we should not
It still
discount like
is, I think.
the impact of like NBA, NFL, all those big ones.
Yeah, all of them now, and even some of the racing ones, I think, are starting to do it now as well,
Yeah,
quite
Need for
heavily.
Speed and all that. And
Yeah,
Burnout
like
was great. It's the only problem is Burnout doesn't fucking work for some reason. Like I tried to install it the other day, Burnout Paradise, because I have nostalgic feelings about that game, and it just didn't fucking install.
lol. But
It made me sad.
it is oh baby. But
Okay.
yeah, I think like and we've talked about it a little bit, but essentially just certain companies have ass in games and rushing them as well, especially rushing them because
Yeah.
there's a few games that were rushed, but they were salvaged. Battlefront probably being one of them. The most famous of them all, I think, is No Man's Sky because No Man's Sky was a complete debacle when it
Was
came
that
out.
EA as well?
I do not believe so. No.
Okay.
It was a Sony exclusive. So I think it was a small private studio, very very small that produced only like a few games,
Okay.
and then they so No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky, No Man's Sky is an exploration by Hello Games,
Doesn't ring a
and
bell.
yeah, they're super small and they produced very very little. Hello Games, video game company. I'm trying to look up at what they've made. Titles. Yeah, that was probably the most famous one where I'm sure many of us released, and many of us remember the meme of like No Man's Sky, more like One Man's Lie or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I
Like
remember.
that was a massive thing.
Because
Oh,
it
so
was such a big promise as well.
yeah, so they're three. They've had 5 games, and okay, so there's Joe Danger, which is on Android, iOS, Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 3, PlayStation Vita, and Xbox 360.
Doesn't
Joe
promise
Danger
me
2,
much. Oh,
yeah,
come on.
Joe Danger 2, the movie, which is all the same sort of title, once again things. And then
Okay.
Joe Danger Infinity, which is just on iOS.
Okay.
And so those were their first 3 games, 2010, 2012, 2014. And then in 2016 was No Man's Sky. Like
So a mobile
they went,
gaming company, because
yeah,
that's what they are,
yeah,
decided to make what they claimed at the time to be the biggest MMORPG in the
yeah,
world.
yeah.
Because that was the claim, right?
That was the
The
claim, yeah.
claim was that it's always online, and that you're always, in a possibility that you could meet other players,
Yeah.
but that
But
the chance would be
it
so
was
small
very
because the world is that large or the universe is that large.
yeah.
And then people were
And
like, "Huh, I haven't seen anyone, but the coordinates are all off
yeah,
because we should be
because
at the same place."
on day 1, 2 people met in the same place. Day 1.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, day 1, 2 people were like, "Hey, we're actually like only like 2 star systems apart." They got to the same star system, went to the same planet, looked at their coordinates, and they were both standing at the exact same spot. And the funny thing is, in the image, like if you look at the image, the planet is identical. Like it's not identical. It's
Yeah.
very close to almost identical. Like
For
the
all
difference
intents and purposes, it's pretty much the same planet.
yeah, it was the same planet. Like it was minute and everything. But yeah, and then they were like, okay, what the fuck?
But the question
Oh,
is,
so
did they actually see each other?
no, they did not.
Exactly. That's
That was
what.
the big.
That's
That
the
was the
point.
big
Is
issue. Yeah.
basically it fucked it messed it wasn't it flopped as
Yeah.
an online game
Yeah.
because it didn't
But
work.
nope. But however, since then, I actually watched someone on YouTube. I can't remember the name of the channel. Basically, go on about it, and the it was actually quite inspirational because basically they made all these promises, and a big part of what looks like to be the problem now was Sony. Sony kept pushing them for the release, like, "Come on, you got to release it now. We got to release it now. We got to release it now," sort of thing. Released it, none of it was ready, and they were like, "Shit, we don't have what we need." And
Yeah.
essentially, for like I don't remember how, like 6 months, 12 months straight, the guy in charge of the company. I think his name is what was the not the name of the not the
Oh, I
guy in
don't
charge of
remember.
the guy that developed the game. Sorry, let me look it up. What was his name? Oh, Will Bram, I think, or was it
Will Bram.
Sean? Yeah, Will Bram or Sean Murray. One of the two of them. One of the two. I honestly cannot remember. I think it might have been. It was either one of those two. They basically told everyone, don't look at Twitter, don't look at Facebook,
Mm.
don't look at anything. Let's just sit down and finish the game. And they finished it, and people were like, "Fuck this!" They they came through in the end. They they listened to us. They were upset with what they produced, and they're like, "Fuck it, we're going to
Yeah.
give the game everyone wanted," and they finished it. And people were actually like super happy with it in the end. And I did go back to it and played it for a little bit, and I was like, unless you've got a friend probably to play it with now, it's probably just not worth it. So I was like, I'm not going to go. But
Yeah, no, I can't even be bothered about thinking to get No Man's Sky at this point, just because I know that it's like, it's not gonna be
yeah,
what I need it to be, you know?
yeah, exactly. I think that's the issue. And I look at it and think it is essentially kind of like Minecraft in space, which fair enough.
But you
It's
may as well
that
play Minecraft then, because that's also like practically infinite in
it
terms of
is.
where you can go.
Yeah, but I guess that's the thing. People who don't play Minecraft probably play No Man's Sky, and people who don't play No Man's Sky probably play Minecraft. And I
And
guess
then there's
to
those
each your
people who
own.
just play either.
Yeah, because you also have to remember one is basically Minecraft in space, so lasers, spaceships, all that. The other one, and Minecraft is basically medieval shit, so diamond swords and armor and mining and all that stuff. Like it's all still the same principle essentially.
Yeah.
You build a fort in Minecraft, you build a ship in No Man's Sky. Essentially, that's the way I would see it.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I
also, quickly, I just looked at it. The Hello Games studio, they released another game called The Last Campfire in 2020, which, whatever, never heard anything about it. They have only 26 employees as of 2020.
that's really funny.
They apparently the studio was like no bigger than that when they made No Man's Sky. Like that's you look at all these AAA companies that how big was the Anthem team? Like imagine that. That would have been dozens and dozens of people, maybe even 100 people making that game. And Anthem's still a piece of shit, whereas No Man's Sky had possibly one of
Well,
the greatest
this is the
maximization.
thing. I'm actually trying to find it because around that time as well, a friend of mine sent me an article about Anthem and like how the development of it was so shit, like from start to finish. Um, hang on, let me see if I can actually. Oh fuck! I keep knocking my fucking microphone. Hang on. Ah, it's because it's leaning in this particular way. Interesting. Hang on. Anthem. Sorry. EA. It's a really interesting. Um, it's a really interesting story of like how it went wrong. Is this it? The Kotaku article?
Sorry, I've just seen something like to do with Anthem because I went to the Wikipedia page. Awards it won: Game Critics Award, Best of Show nominated, Best Original Game nominated, Best PC Game won, Best Action Game won. Clearly, EA paid off people.
Oh, no doubt, absolutely no doubt.
Like what?
I
Yeah, that
believe,
makes sense.
yeah. So I've got the article on Kotaku. This is, I
The
think,
high. Yeah, go on. Sorry, you go first.
what went wrong with Anthem. This is the story. So fans have speculated endlessly as to how Anthem went so awry. Was it originally a single-player game? Did they strip all the good missions? Blah blah blah. Did they do all of these things so they can, they get you to spend more money? The answer to all those questions is no. The account of Anthem's development, based on interviews with 19 people who either worked on the game or adjacent to it, all of whom were granted anonymity, is a story of indecision and mismanagement. So, basically, here we go. So, Among those who work or have worked at BioWare, which is the studio that made this, famously known for making Mass Effect,
Yeah.
right? There's a belief that something drastic needs to change. Many of the company now grumble that the success of 2014's Dragon Age Inquisition was one of the worst things that could have ever happened to them. Because it was the result of a brutal production process plagued by indecision and technical challenges. It was mostly built over the course of its final year, which led to lengthy crunch hours and lots of exhaustion. So, if you don't know what crunch hours are, in app development or game development and stuff like that, development more than anything, crunch hours is basically having to do overtime in anticipation of the release date to make sure that everything is working. Oftentimes, this basically means overtime without being paid overtime, right? And
Yeah.
EA is like they are known to do crunch times like quite badly.
Yeah.
Within the studio, there's a term called BioWare magic. It's a belief that no matter how rough the game's production might be, things will always come together in the final months. The game will always coalesce. It happened on the Mass Effect trilogy, on Dragon Age Origins, and on Inquisition. Veteran BioWare developers like to refer to production as a hockey stick. It's flat for a while, and then it suddenly jolts upward. Even when the project feels like a complete disaster, there's belief that with hard work and enough difficult crunch, it will all come together. Right?
Yeah.
So at the
Like,
beginning, sorry, go on.
not like, because what I'm basically seeing from all that is basically EA thinks a recipe to success is crunch time.
Yep.
Like they think, oh, it's worked for all these games, so we can afford to be like a little lenient or a little more, flim-flamsy with our games.
Which they
And the
can.
way, the best comparison I can think of is basically a film studio deciding they're going to make a film and then deciding, oh shit, we're going to release it on this exact date. We need you to make it within. We need you to make what's a good example? We need you to make Endgame within 6 months, edit it, and then release it.
Yeah.
Like, it's a recipe for disaster. And yes, it's worked before, but as of recently, the method is the method's failed them
It
countless
has.
times, over and over again.
So the early ideas for Anthem, which was called Dylan at the time because it was supposed to become the Bob Dylan of video games. Because people, I don't know why they chose Bob Dylan specifically. They said meaning something that would be referenced by video game fans for years to come, even though I can't really remember the last time that anyone mentioned Bob Dylan by name in recent time. Except for my friends who just said, yo, listen to Blonde on Blonde. That was like 5 years ago. But, mission success. We're still talking about it. The early ideas for Anthem were ambitious and challenging, changing constantly, according to people who were on the project, as typical during the sort of ideation phase. No one knew what the game would look like yet. They just wanted to see what might be cool. It would be an action game, certainly, and you'd be able to play it with your friends. The goal was just to get away from the traditional sci-fi and fantasy so the game would feel distinct from Mass Effect and NASA-inspired robot suit. The pitch was simple, Iron Man but less cartoony. Which is basically what it is.
Yeah, which it is. But can I also point out though,
Yeah.
the hypocrisy of the statement there. We're stepping away from sci-fi and fantasy, like Mass Effect and Dragon Age. So we're just going to produce fantasy. Sorry, not fantasy, sci-fi.
Yeah, sci-fi
because
with fantasy elements.
It's essentially they're producing like in the end, if they said, "Oh, we want to step away from that," like basically the way I would see that is sitting down in the meeting, Ubisoft like, we don't want to make a sci-fi game, we don't want to make a fantasy game, and someone snaps their fingers. What if it was set in the modern day? And like, yes, and what should we do with it? What should it be called? Oh, I don't know, maybe like we turn Ghost Recon into that. Oh yeah, that's great. Maybe we can make another one called Watch Dogs. I'm like, yeah. All in the modern day, essentially. It's like that's the way to do it. But they're like, no, we're gonna make it both.
Yeah.
Because it worked for Destiny, so it should surely work for us.
It should work for us, yeah. Because Destiny is big title, and this is basically the same.
Yeah, it's the same, but it's made by us, EA, and everyone loves EA. It's like, no, no one's loved you for a long time now.
So basically, to summarize this paragraph, the idea of the game was basically it's a survival game, right? You are in this robot suit. You're fighting all these incredibly dangerous monsters around you, and you basically have to survive. And when they described the early iterations of Anthem, they compared it to stuff like Dark Souls and Shadow of the Colossus, so a Souls-like game,
Yeah,
right?
super hard, challenging survival elements
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
We
There.
know now that it's nothing like that
No,
because
it
there's
is
nothing Souls-like about it.
no, it is just your standard run of the mill, like punch, shoot, kill, repeat game. That's it. There's
Yeah.
nothing different about it. Nothing unique or different about it.
So
It is Destiny, just with less fantasy and more sci-fi. Because that's the
exactly.
way Destiny is more It's like sci-fi, but it's
Yeah,
fantasy,
there's
but with
elements.
sci-fi. Whereas this is sci-fi with a microscopic tint of fantasy
Yeah.
thrown in there.
So if you'd like to pay attention to the screen, even though for you it might be delayed by a couple of seconds, but they actually included the trailer in this article from 2014, which is approximately 5 years before the game came out.
Oh
This
wow!
game was in development 5 years, and you see like a weird kind of um like trend for
Yeah,
games that have been in development for a certain amount of years.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like games that are like, it's there's two extremes. If they're in for development for too long, it becomes an
Yeah,
issue. Whereas if they're not in development long enough, then they're rushed.
yeah,
Is that's like I felt like the best time frame for most games in development is like 2 maybe 3 years. Games
yeah,
to come up with a concept to work it around and start making the game. Like that's how I've always kind of seen it.
yeah. I'm skipping through
But
this
yeah,
trailer a little bit, by the way, because it's fucking boring.
like just quickly, like just pause it there. Just pause it there.
Like
Pause.
let's go back a little bit.
Yeah, to when it was a little more sunny.
Yeah.
Like that there does not look anything like Anthem right now. Let's be
No,
honest. Like
not even slightly.
that's completely different. Like the game completely changed. And if you go back and rewatch this stuff, you can see that it does. And that's a
Yeah.
bad sign for any. And I also remember that they got so desperate, I think, for the marketing, because I think they started to realize that the game may not
Look at
do
this
so well.
sentence. Look at this sentence.
The final game would have nothing even close to this Yeah, there you go. But Neil Blomkamp, who made
Yep.
District 9, apparently he made like a bunch of like cinematic style trailers.
Mm.
And the thing is, like, you look at those trailers, and I'll be honest, it's akin to Star Wars. What's the game?
Yeah.
What's the fucking game called? Sorry, I need to look it up again. I have it. Star Wars, The Old Republic, and even to an extent World of Warcraft, where it's like the cinematic is better than the actual game. Like the I think World of Warcraft has kind of, made a reputation and a meme off of it, essentially. Like, we produce great cinematic trailers and the game is nothing like it,
Yep.
but the game is still good. And to an extent, the Old Republic, they did that as well, but their cinematics were just generally 10 times better than the actual game. Whereas
Yep.
in World of Warcraft,
Which is
it's
saying
a
a
little
lot.
close. Yeah, but that Anthem was on a whole nother level of just like the trailer was better than the game by a lot. But yeah,
Yep.
God,
So basically,
game.
the rest is like about all the ideas that they had for Anthem and like what they wanted it to be, which is that they always knew that it was going to be a multiplayer game. They didn't know to what extent it was going to be. They didn't think it was going to be a loot shooter as it is now, um
Yeah,
but they knew that. And then at some point in 2014, they lost their leader Casey Hudson.
yeah,
They known for being the director of Mass Effect trilogy, which did a good job, and
yeah.
he left because doesn't quite say, but basically they got John Warner instead, who was a new hire who had worked for Disney before joining EA in 2011. You know, you
Uh,
know what that means. You know what that
okay.
means. He was working for Disney. You know what that means. Half-assed jobs.
Yeah,
Um, in it for the money. Anyway, BioWare veterans like to describe Casey Hudson's Mass Effect team as the Enterprise from Star Trek. They all did what the captain said, and they were all laser focused on a single destination. By comparison, they called the Dragon Age team a pirate ship, meandering from port to port until it reached its final destination. Now the Enterprise no longer had its Jean-Luc Picard. That's up to interpretation. I don't know enough about that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dragon Age Inquisition did pretty well. And everyone who worked on it moved on to work on Anthem.
Yeah.
So they basically joined the pre-existing team that was already there.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, you might find this surprising. EA had all these team health reports, yeah?
Yep.
Said one. Anthem's morale was among the highest in all of EA. It was really, really good for quite a while. Everybody saw there was much potential in those early prototypes. So people were actually excited about this game, yeah?
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, if you walked into a pitching meeting and said to people like, it's going to be set on an alien planet where you're basically in a survival world,
you're fighting with your friends,
you're playing with your friends, you're all just trying to survive and get by. Like, that would get anyone excited. That would get a lot of people excited to do, because there's so much you can do with that, because it's an alien world and you can make your own life, technology, game mechanics, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it goes on to say, as development progressed, it became clear that some of the Anthem team's original ideas either wouldn't work or weren't quite solidified enough to be implemented. Take Traversal, for example. The mandate was that Anthem's world would be massive and seamless, but how would you get around? The team played around with prototypes, exploring different ways in which your exosuit could move vertically across the world. For a long time, they thought it'd be climbing up the sides of mountains and ledges, but they couldn't get that quite right. Early iterations of flying, which developers say was removed from and re-added to Anthem several times, were more like gliding, and members from the Anthem team say it was tough to get the system feeling all that fun. Every time they changed the traversal, it meant changing the world design accordingly, flattening and stretching terrain to accommodate the latest movement style. So you have to imagine then, literally because they don't know how you would move around in the world, they had to change the world to fit to this movement pattern.
Yeah.
Right? Which is a big job.
Yeah. Because the other issue is, I think, is because they basically in the end described it as you flying around an Iron Man suit.
Yeah.
Is I think they kind of got attached to the idea of moving around in the suit and sticking to that and only that as your only mode of transportation. But there are a few things to note about this. One, Iron Man doesn't always use the suit to travel. I literally rewatched Civil War the other day, and he's in a helicopter that then literally he presses a button and gets in a suit and flies off out of the helicopter. So he's using two modes of transportation there. And the other thing, like, you look at Destiny, there's running, walking, jumping, and then you have the spire. Like, you have essentially foot transportation and then that. Whereas they got too stuck up on just having the suit as the only means of getting around and not thinking about maybe there could have been other options to help make it smoother.
Yeah. Well, in the previous paragraphs that I've kind of skipped because, it's kind of lengthy and, we're kind of pressed for time anyway. David Gader, who worked on Dragon Age, was hired to be the writer for this game. And the story was very different, right? So the idea was that they were going to have this big plot about with complicated villains and all these really big plot points and stuff like that. And he was asked to rewrite the whole thing. And then he left 2 years after because, he was like, I don't want to play this game, so I don't really want to work on it anymore.
Yeah.
And so they had to change everything.
Wow. I mean, that's... Oh, Jesus Christ. Like,
people moved around that game. Like, people didn't stay with the game. They came in, they left, and they came in, they left.
Like, I think it's like in recent times, you look at it, EA as one of the studios has become pretty bad with like having people jump ship in recent times, like a lot of people have left EA, and there's a few like I think what
Yeah.
Activision is another one where they've been closing down a lot of studios, but EA as well. The EA and Activision are basically going through like a fucking holocaust of just getting rid of all their fucking studios and some of their best developers that have been there for
Yeah.
them. Like it's
Well,
gotten bad.
yeah. Well, here's something that probably still happens at EA as well, right? The most common anecdote related to the writer by current and former BioWare employees was this. A group of developers are in a meeting. They're debating some creative decision, like the mechanics of flying or the lore behind the Scar alien race. Some people disagree on the fundamentals, and then rather than someone stepping up and making a decision about how to proceed, the meeting would end with no real verdict, leaving everyone in flux. That would just happen over and over, said one Anthem developer. Stuff would take a year or two to figure out because no one really wanted to make a call on it. Keep in mind, said another Anthem developer, everyone had hard decisions to make that we've never really done before. New IP, new genre, new technology, new style, everything was new. So basically, there were big decisions to be made about how, like, what direction the game would go in, and no one wanted to make any of these decisions.
Yeah.
Throughout 2015 and 2016, it appeared to the Anthem team that they were accomplishing very little. They struggled with the online infrastructure, they hadn't figured out how the missions would work, and while they had built a few environments and creatures, still wasn't clear exactly what the basic gameplay might look like. The story was changing constantly, and the progress on the game grew sluggish. One early idea was that there would be multiple cities, which eventually turned into one city, and player created outposts, which eventually turned into one city in a mobile strider base, which eventually turned into a single fort. Those earlier survival ideas melted away. They were still figuring out those parts for the out core parts for the
Like
IP, like crafting material, Ember, how technology worked, that sort of thing, said one of the Bioware developers. The whole
yeah.
backend architecture and everything wasn't figured out yet.
Like I've just heard something mentioned there that to me is just such a cool idea. Like the whole having multiple cities thing would have made a bit more sense. It would have given more for them to
Right? It
make.
would have been so good.
But here's the other thing. The other thing that actually hit me just then that you just mentioned that they just talked about that actually would have been so innovative is the city moved around.
Yeah. Like
Like
the base that they described.
because that would have gone like more into the survival element of like you can leave the city, explore the area that the city's just gone to. But the issue is if you don't get back to the city in time, the city leaves without you. Like it doesn't stay. And yes, you could probably find it again at some point, but you'll be spending a lot of time out in the wild with limited resources. You have to pick and choose fights very carefully. Like that to me would have been
Yeah. Because
super
now,
interesting.
I'll be honest, before I continue reading, the most broken fucking thing about the entire game, right? Besides the matchmaking, which for some reason doesn't even work if you're friends on fucking EA platform, right? The problem I had is how difficult is it to have one hub world or one hub world, which is the fucking fort,
Yeah,
and just have players be able to go there together.
yeah.
Why do you have to
Just like
split
they
off every time you finish a mission?
like Anthem. I think it was just like a few things because I imagine what may not be said is the fact that they said they were talking about all these things and they were going, "Oh, this would be great, this would be great," and then it might have started to take a little bit too much shape and looking like Destiny, and they may have thought we don't want it to be another Destiny, we want it to be its own thing,
Yeah,
which fair enough. But at the same time, I think you need to take notes from what's worked in other games. A hub world where everyone can go and meet in Destiny
absolutely.
worked brilliantly.
Yeah.
And it's worked in World of Warcraft, it's worked in RuneScape, it's worked in so many other games.
It worked in everything that is implemented. I don't think
Yeah,
there's a
it's worked
discussion
in
possible about it.
considering what they wanted to make in the end, which was this massive open world game where you could meet other players, essentially. And then ultimately they just backtracked on that. And it was either probably because they decided it was too hard or just that they didn't have a system that could support it.
Yeah. So this is
And
where
what they
shit goes
got,
wild as well, yeah?
yeah,
So, complicating these problems further was the fact that sometimes when the Anthem leadership team did make a decision, it could take weeks or even months for them to see it in action. There were a lot of plans, said the developer, where by the time they were implemented, it was a year later, the game had evolved. The explanation for this lag can be summed up in one word, a word that has plagued many of EA studios for years now: most notably BioWare and the now defunct Visceral Games. A word that can still evoke mocking smile or a sad grimace to anyone who's spent any time with it. That word, of course, is Frostbite. Frostbite is a video game engine or suite of technology that is used to make a game. Right, that's the basics
Yeah,
of a video game engine. Created by the
that's what they
EA-owned
use.
Swedish studio DICE in order to make Battlefield shooters, Frostbite engine became ubiquitous across Electronic Arts this past decade, thanks to an
Yeah.
initiative led by former executive Patrick Suderlund to get all of its studios on the same technology. By using Frostbite rather than a third-party engine like Unreal, those studios could share knowledge and save a whole lot of money in licensing fees. BioWare,
God,
yeah,
like, sorry, just the
yeah.
whole save a whole lot of money. It wasn't the whole licensing or
Unreal
whatever
is
issue.
free though.
It was just it was just so they could save money. Because let me put it this way: the Frostbite engine works for Battlefield. It is a perfect engine for it.
Well, yeah, because it's made for it.
Yeah, it's made for Battlefield. And then when I heard, and I think the first game I heard about where they were implementing the Frostbite engine into was FIFA, and they're like, "Oh, Frostbite," and I was like, "How?
How
What?
would that
How will
work?
that? What's going to be different?" Played the next one that had the Frostbite engine. Guess what? No difference. Still the same game. Still pretty much the same command. Like they could not have put it in; it would have still been the same game. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
It would have. It wouldn't have changed. Like Frostbite. Like God.
So it goes on to say BioWare first shifted it to Frostbite for Dragon Age Inquisition in 2011, which caused massive problems for that team. Many of the features those developers had taken for granted in previous engines, like a save load system and a third person camera, simply did not exist in Frostbite, which meant that the Inquisition team had to build them all from scratch. Mass Effect Andromeda ran into similar issues. Surely a third time would be the charm. As it turned out, Anthem was not the charm. Using Frostbite to build an online only action game, which BioWare had never done before, led to a host of new problems for BioWare's designers, artists, and programmers. Frostbite is like an in house engine with all the problems that entails. It's poorly documented, hacked together, and so on, with all the problems of an externally sourced engine, said one former BioWare employee. Nobody you actually work with designed it, so you don't know why this thing works the way it does, why this is named the way it is.
God, it's just
Let's let that sink in for a second. So essentially, they've been told by their leaders to use a tool that nobody knows how it works, and also that nobody knows who to ask how it works because nobody knows
yeah,
anyone who does know what the hell it's meant to be.
yeah. Like it's just such a it was just such a bad call in the end, and it was made purely for monetary reason,
Oh
just to
yeah,
cut down. Like I think that's the thing EA has come across is. I mean, they all do it, but EA, like, I think we all harp on about EA, but there are, like, this is good evidence as to why it should happen. They cut corners
they did.
everywhere they think they, and here's the thing, everywhere they think they can, not everywhere they actually can, everywhere they think they can.
Yeah.
And they don't give actually any thought to, okay, like,
It's like basically, if you give a construction worker a toolbox, right? And they open it, and they go, "What the fuck? There's only a screwdriver in this." And they go, "Yep, we're just using the screwdriver." I mean, you can hammer in nails with a screwdriver. You just use the back end of it, so it's not that big of a deal. They're like, "Okay, great, but how do I cut things in half? What am I meant to do here?" And they go, "Nah, you're smart. You'll figure it out."
sorry, I just want to look up something.
Yeah, I'll fiddle the silence. Um, basically
Okay,
the rest of these. Oh, you got it. Go on.
yep. So it just hit me considering they want to do this whole in-house shit of like, oh, we're gonna, do just Frostbite, and it just hit me if they did it with one particular game, and as it turns out, they haven't. And I'm just gonna look up one more now.
Okay. What game is this?
I will play in a second once I've seen the other one. Um, Mhm.
Here we go. In 2016, the FIFA games had to move over to Frostbite. The annual soccer franchise was EA's most important series, bringing in a large chunk of the publisher's revenue, and BioWare had programmers with Frostbite experience, so Electronic Arts shifted them to FIFA. So basically, because FIFA was now working on Frostbite, because people from BioWare knew how it worked and people from FIFA did not, they had to move people from the Anthem team to work on FIFA instead now.
Yeah.
So they were literally like reducing the number of people actually working on the game, which compared to Destiny and the Division, which are mentioned in this article as well by name, had way bigger teams.
Yeah, that will make any game be so. I've just double checked for 2 games. So, Star Wars Battlefront 2, the 2017 EA one, uses Frostbite 3 as its engine, which makes sense.
It's a shooter
It's
that is
it's a
exactly
shooter.
like Battlefield in so many
That
ways.
just it makes sense. And I had to check for another one.
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order does not use Frostbite. It uses
Interesting.
Unreal. It uses Unreal.
Interesting. That is
So
weird.
I think when did Anthem come out?
2019.
2000. Fuck it. It's that like because like that's like to be fair, it might be because Respawn Entertainment was the one that made Jedi Fallen Order, which is interesting. But yeah, it's just I think that's just such a bizarre because Battlefront makes sense, Frostbite all the way, that works perfectly. But how come with Jedi Fallen Order that just they were smart enough to realize no, we shouldn't use Frostbite, when in actual fact, sorry, the game director for Jedi Fallen Order is called Stig. Sorry, I just had to point that out.
The Stig.
The Stig.
He was opening on fast money, but he couldn't quite catch that corner.
Yeah.
It gets worse.
Oh god.
So basically, over the months, Anthem had begun naturally picking up ideas and mechanics from loot shooters like The Division and Destiny. Although even mentioning the word Destiny was taboo with BioWare, Diablo 3 was the preferred reference point. I mean, it doesn't really matter because you set out to make something new and then you didn't. A few people who worked on the game said that trying to make comparisons to Destiny would elicit negative reactions from studio leadership. We were told quite definitively this isn't Destiny, said one developer. But it kind of is. What you're describing is beginning to go into that realm. They didn't want to make those correlations. But at the same time, when you're talking about fire teams and going off doing raids together, about gun combat, spells, things like that, well, there's a lot of elements that correlate there, that cross over. Because leadership didn't want to discuss Destiny, that developer added, they found it hard to learn from what Bungie's loot shooter did well. We need to be looking at games like Destiny because they're the market leaders, the developer said. They're the guys who had been doing these things best. We should absolutely be looking at how they're doing things. As an example, the developer brought up the unique feel of Destiny's large variety of guns, something that Anthem seemed to be lacking, in large part because it was being built by a bunch of people who had mostly made RPGs. We really didn't have the design skills to be able to do that, they said. There just wasn't the knowledge base to be able to develop that kind of diversity. So basically, yeah, go on.
Sorry, just really on the subject beforehand about engines, I've looked up other EA IP. So Apex Legends, very big EA game, probably one of the biggest currently right now, uses
Frostbite?
Source.
Source?
Nope.
Source?
So does
wait,
Titan.
what? Hang on. Of all things... Wait, what?
And Titanfall 2 uses Source engine.
The Valve thing.
Yeah.
Literally the same shit that was Counter-Strike and fucking Half-Life and all that shit.
Yeah.
Huh. That makes no sense.
Like, but the thing is, they turned out great. Like when you look at the actual games, Apex Legends is massive right now. I mean, it's not as big as it didn't overtake Fortnite like everyone thought it would, but it did really well for quite a while. It's still doing well. And then Titanfall 2, which wasn't massively successful, but critically was quite well received and fans loved it. So it's so confusing how EA took this approach, but it's clear that EA took this approach of Frostbite above everything else for their leading IPs. They took this approach with Anthem, they took this approach with Battlefront, and with FIFA. Arguably at the time, their three biggest leading IPs behind things like Battlefield. But one of them's being FIFA, no impact whatsoever, and yet on things like Anthem and it worked well on Battlefront, but to be fair, that's expected. But then on Anthem, a game that is not designed for Frostbite, it completely butchers it.
It displeases me to say it this way, but it is getting worse.
Oh my god.
In the beginning of 2017, a few important things happened. In early March, Mass Effect Andromeda launched, freeing up the bulk of BioWare staff to join Anthem, including most of BioWare's Austin office. The Montreal office began to quietly wind down and eventually closed, leaving BioWare as two entities rather than three, the other one being in Edmonton. Around the same time, Electronic Arts executive Patrick Southerland, to whom BioWare's leadership reported, played the Anthem Christmas demo in 2017. According to three people familiar with what happened, he told BioWare that it was unacceptable. He was particularly disappointed by the graphics, and he said, "This is not what you had promised me as a game." Then, those developers said that Sunderland summoned a group of high-level BioWare staff to fly out to Stockholm, Sweden, and meet with the developers at DICE to learn how fucking Frostbite works. Now it's time for a new build. What began was 6 weeks of pretty significant crunch to do a demo specifically for Patrick Southerland. And after some heated arguments, the Anthem team decided to put flying back in. So again, they decided to take it out and then they decided to put it back in. For years, the Anthem team had gone back and forth about the flying mechanic, had been cut and re-added several times in different forms. Some iterations were more of a glide, and for a while the idea was that only one exosuit class would be able to fly. On one hand, the mechanic was undeniably cool. What better way to feel like Iron Man to zip around the world in a giant robot suit? On the other hand, it kept breaking everything. Few open world games allowed for that kind of vertical freedom for good reason. If you could fly everywhere, then the entire world needed to accommodate that. The artist wouldn't be able to throw up mountains or walls to prevent players from jumping off the boundaries of the planet. Plus, the Anthem team worried that if you could fly, you'd blaze past the game's environments, rather than stopping to explore and check out the scenery. The leadership's team's most recent decision had been to remove flying entirely, but needed to impress Sutherland, and flying was the only mechanic they'd built that made Anthem stand out. So, they put it back in, and Sutherland said, what did he say? One day in the spring of 2017, he flew to Edmonton to make his way to Torres in tow. The Anthem team had completely overhauled, and oh yeah, he did. He turns around and goes, "Wait, no, he loved it." One of our QA people had been playing it over and over and over again and could get the flow and timing down perfectly. Within 30 seconds or so, the exosuit jumps off and glides in this precipice and lands. And then when he played it, he said, "That was fucking awesome. Show it to me again." It's exactly what I wanted, is what he said. And so basically, the video doesn't exist anymore, but at some point there was a 7-minute gameplay video. That's what it was based on.
Okay.
This is, all the while, Anthem was still in pre-production. This isn't even production. This is pre-production, and this is like 3 years in.
Jesus Christ.
So let's skip a little bit because it's all about E3 and stuff like that. At E3 2017, BioWare announced that Anthem would launch in fall 2018. Behind the scenes, however, they had barely even implemented a single mission, and the drama was just getting worse. It keeps getting worse. Now,
Oh
this
god.
part you might find interesting. Until very recently, hardcore BioWare fans used to refer to the studio's various teams using derogatory tiers. There was the A team, the B team, and the C team. Opinions may have varied on which was which, but in general, the A team referred to the original BioWare. The office in Edmonton, Canada, responsible for Dragon Age and the Mass Effect trilogy. A couple of thousand miles southeast was the B team, the studio in Austin, Texas, that was founded to make Star Wars: The Old Republic, a massively multiplayer online role-playing game. The C team usually referred to Montreal, the ill-fated studio behind Mass Effect Andromeda. What fans might have not realized was even within BioWare, some people thought the same way. Anthem is the game you get from a studio that is at war with itself. Listen to how these people are fucking describing their own company.
Yeah.
I can't, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. Like
it. Yeah.
I think because there is a real sense that even if you produce a game that becomes a debacle, you have to kind of stick with it. Like fucking Bethesda is with Fallout 76. You know, that game is a complete sham. But they're sticking with it, still trying to make it good. But man, when this game came out and flopped, they jumped shipped within what, 6 months? 12 months at most? Like, this game will probably go down in history as the biggest like debacle there is.
Yeah.
It's going to be a long time till the game meets this.
So after shipping The Old Republic in 2011 and continuing to cultivate the support for it, BioWare Austin started a few projects of its own. There's no point in really looking into this because they were all cancelled by 2014. And BioWare had enacted an initiative called One BioWare, a plan designed to get all of the company studios working in tandem. Many of BioWare Austin staff moved onto Dragon Age Inquisition downloadable content and then Mass Effect Andromeda. By early 2007, around the time Sutherland was demanding to see that new demo, most of BioWare Austin was officially on Anthem, helping with just about every department from cinematics to storytelling. Right? So now the people who worked on Star Wars: The Old Republic are now working on this as well.
Jesus. Oh god.
And no one knew what the game was. They were
Like,
still trying. Go on.
What's that old expression? Too many cooks spoil the broth or the food or whatever it is. Too many cooks in the kitchen.
And this game is severely overseasoned and still tastes bland.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's the thing. Essentially, what this is someone saying, "Oh, let's make it an Indian dish," and someone saying, "No, let's make it a pizza," and then another person going, "No, let's make it a dessert." And then what you get is this weird chicken curry chocolate sauce pizza. Like, you look at it, you know it's going to be terrible, but for some reason they've still made it, and it's the most expensive thing on the menu. That's all it is.
So, without going again into too much detail for time's sake, the people from BioWare Austin clearly not very happy to work on this now. And basically, while they were working on Star Wars: The Old Republic, they've seen a lot of mistakes that they've learned from. But the people who were working in Edmonton were making all the same mistakes. They were trying to prevent this, but no one was really listening to them because they were like, well, you're Austin. So, fuck you.
Wow.
We told them this is not going to work. Look, these story things you're doing, it's going to split up the player's experience, said an Austin developer. We'd already been through all of it with the Old Republic. We knew what it was like when people felt like they were getting rushed through story missions because other players were on their headsets going, come on, let's go. So we knew all these things, and we bring them up repeatedly, and we were ignored. Which is probably the worst thing you could possibly do to people who are actually fucking helping you.
Yeah, exactly. And who have a lot of experience. Like, because what Star Wars: The Old Republic is an old game as well. It's not.
It is an old game. It's 10 years old now.
Yeah. Like, why would you not listen to the guys that made arguably one of the most successful Star Wars IPs? Because, like, regardless of whatever someone says about the Old Republic, it is successful. Like, it has a large player base. It has a lot of fans.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I'm skipping through a lot of it because a lot of it is just kind of blah 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 about
Yeah,
like how
I
the game
think.
got delayed. There's so much more.
Yeah, well, I guess the advantage is because it is our podcast, we can take as long as we want to go through
I mean, the
this.
previous episode was 2 hours, so people should get used to this kind of thing because
Yeah,
our last subject is always going to be an hour long at this point. That's our trademark.
yeah.
More
On a
changes were
random,
made. More changes were made. Yeah, go on.
on a random note, sort of off tangent as you're looking through this, just for something new that will be maybe not as depressing, but it will probably still be. I remember before, like, we went into full lockdown here in Bath, because I'm currently living here in Bath. I don't know
Sure.
if you know that. Went to CEX, and I saw they have PlayStation 3s there for like 70 quid.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I was like, wow, that's a real drop off in in price. You anyone who bought that did not make a profit, but to be fair, it is a console, and that happens.
Yeah. So basically, up until this point, the gist of it is the game wasn't ready, but they still wanted to push it out as soon as possible, but then had to delay it because it was ready. But in this time, Destiny 2 was picking up because it was doing very well and was still expanding its content. Division 2 came out and was also very well praised. And now they're going, oh well, fuck, we gotta release this now because we're gonna be behind on the competition. Meanwhile, the gaming landscape was changing. EA had gone all in on regularly updated games as a service, but was struggling in several key areas, closing Visceral Games in San Francisco and facing new serious drama. As its ambitious EA Motive studio in Montreal, the Star Wars Battlefront 2 pay-to-win debacle led to a reinvigorated public hatred for all things Electronic Arts, and the publisher-wide reboot of all things loot box. Even as EA executive continually pushed for all their games to have long-term monetization plans, Anthem included. EA has been public about its distaste for linear games that can be easily returned to GameStop after a single playthrough. Which, by the way, GameStop is not worried about that at all right now.
Oh wow!
Just had to,
Yeah, because I mean, the thing is, like, it's just that mentality of saying they detest it and they don't like people that it can be returned after a single playthrough is like, it is such a monetary way of thinking, and they'll probably argue it's no, it's not. We just want people to be invested. It's like, the way you say it does not make it sound
yeah,
like that, and you were just called out because you don't mean it. You said it the way you wanted, the way you think and feel. People caught you out on it, and now you're just going back and saying, no, 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 we're making investments. It's like, no, you don't give a shit if you've. Oh
yeah.
god, EA is
So
so
basically,
bad at.
yeah, it goes on to say how broken the game was when it came out. And like literally, I think there was an entire week where I couldn't do anything because there were server issues. I remember
Oh,
that. One of the things, if you're interested, I watched it again the other day. It was really funny. If you go to Moist Critical's channel, Penguins at Zero on YouTube, he has an entire playthrough of Anthem, and the first 3 episodes are literally just him and his friends trying to get into the game.
wow.
They're literally like each is like a 15-minute episode where they're literally just at the start at the start screen and they're like, is this the first boss of the game? Because literally it wasn't moving.
Yeah,
More people
like,
leaving.
that's the thing. Like, if you actually look at EA in recent times, and I do feel like it generally started. It started ages ago with FIFA and the introduction of Ultimate Team, but then Battlefront was the real time I think the world saw it as an issue. Like, EA is heading for a cliff. Like,
Oh yeah,
they are going to destroy that company will destroy itself. It will end up like just going bust in some way. Like, whether it's just from completely alienating their player base and people turning on them and saying, "Look, we've had enough."
oh yeah.
or even if it's just like they produce a couple, because like Anthem was not cheap as well to make, was it? It was super fucking expensive, massive budget. So whether it's either losing their player base or making a few more mistakes like Anthem of producing these massive AAA games that are hundreds of millions of dollars expensive to produce, and then they just completely bomb.
Yeah.
It's whether they lose their player base and therefore lose their cash flow, or they produce some games that are just too expensive to make and they just can't afford the lack of income coming in for those games afterwards.
Yeah, well, here's another thing then. To add on to that, it wasn't mentioned in the article directly, but you might find this interesting. Remember when I said like, because we were talking about Star Wars: The Old Republic the other day,
Yeah.
and I said, "Oh yeah, I know that it's free because it's no longer supported."
Yeah.
This is the reason. I
Yeah.
shit you not. This game is the reason why Star Wars: The Old Republic is no longer supported.
Yeah.
Because literally everyone who worked on that game was assigned to work on Anthem instead.
Yeah.
And they were like, fuck, no one's gonna buy a game that isn't being supported anymore. Let's just make it free and whatever. It's not a good game anyway, and they just made it free. EA didn't even bother to fucking back that horse.
No. For 10 years they went with it. And then Anthem came along and
Not
just
even
collapsed.
10 years. Not even 10 years.
Yeah.
More like 6.
Jesus
And
Christ,
all of the people, in classic EA fashion, all of the people who worked there worked on like a back-end deal, right? So if the game sells a particular amount, then they get a so-and-so amount of like percentage off of it. So
yeah.
a lot of people who worked on that game didn't get paid nearly enough for the amount of time that they've stuck into it, especially like considering like, programmers. Well, programmers, they made money off of other games in the end. But voice actors and stuff like that, they didn't make
No.
all that much off of it.
No.
And I think there was an episode like maybe a year or two ago from Retro Replay with Troy Baker and Norland North where they talked about this game because they both worked on it, and they said like, this shit happens.
Yeah. I feel like EA is the biggest, having talked about gambles and shit, like in terms of if you're a game developer or voice actor or whatever, it is the biggest gamble to go into EA. Because you
Oh
can
yeah,
either make your career by working on something like Battlefield or as it turns out, Jedi Fallen Order, and just,
yeah, or
that
Dragon
game,
Age.
or Dragon Age. Or even some of, the original Mass Effect. Any game from EA basically 10 years ago, let's be honest.
Yeah, let's be honest.
Maybe 5. Maybe 5 years ago.
A bit of a stretch, but yeah, okay.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you look at like the Battlefield games. Like, when did Battlefield
When
4 come out?
when did
That
Battlefield
was
3 come out?
because Battlefield, even well, Battlefield 3 was the better of the two. Battlefield 4 was still pretty good.
Yeah, but let's be honest, Battlefield 4 was just DLC.
Yeah,
Like it didn't need to exist.
maybe. Okay, so 2013. So even then, it's still
Yeah, no,
close to that.
that's around the right time thing because
Yeah.
Dragon Age Inquisition was apparently like the last great game from EA, and that was 2014.
I could kind like this thing because Battlefield 1 came out in 2016, and I still enjoyed
Yeah,
that game. But to be fair, I wouldn't argue it to be great. I would just say it's enjoyable.
yeah, it's okay.
And what Titanfall 2 was great.
Yeah, but again, that's
I know you.
I like Titanfall. I'm not gonna lie. It's
Yeah.
it's like Call of Duty on steroids.
Do you want to kill people with guns in first person, fast paced 6v6 action? Well, nah, you can do it in a robot. That's basically what the tagline for that game is, let's be honest.
Yeah, pretty much. But fuck, it
But
was
yeah,
good.
it's just yeah. Oh god. But yeah, EA
Yeah.
is,
Scum Lords.
I mean, I will say this, because I mean, even if I did count, we all counted Battlefield 1 and Titanfall 2, they both came out in 2016. So essentially, they're on a 4-year dry streak of games.
Oh yeah.
because like I won't count Battlefront 2 because at launch that game was trash, and it is about the launch essentially.
It is.
And God, I mean, yeah, they've gone through a 4-year dry streak of just not producing great games. And say what you will about Activision, they can be consistent enough to rely on things like Call of Duty, and Ubisoft have several. It's not. I know they make things like Assassin's Creed 1 a year, but they still have other IPs that are
They do, yeah.
like
Like
pulling
Ghost
in
Recon
numbers.
and all that.
Ghost Recon, Watch Dogs now, like
Yeah, to an extent, but yeah.
actually, that is a comment that has to be said. First Watchdog game was a letdown. People were open about it. It's like, this is a great concept.
Yeah.
Letdown.
I didn't
And
really like the second one though.
yeah, and here's the thing.
I had problems. I had big problems with it.
But yeah, it was still good and fun, and Watchdog Legion seems like it has problems still, but it's gonna still be fun and
Yeah,
good to
that's
play.
the thing as well. It's like people need to remember that like games are inherently made to be fun.
Yeah, exactly. But
Plus, Far Cry does some interesting things.
Oh yeah, Far Cry as well as Ubisoft. I completely fucking forgot about that. I didn't
Yeah.
like Far Cry 5. I have to say
I haven't played it, to be absolutely honest with you.
Yeah, done. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
But
Then again, I feel like those are. I don't think Ubisoft actually developed the game. I think they only published it.
Okay, interesting.
That needs to be said as well, because there are some EA games that are essentially published by EA that are very good, and I know that we still haven't gotten fucking through it, but gosh darn it, like A Way Out is a fantastic game, and I loved it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't actually made by EA. It was made by like a company that was commissioned by EA to make the game.
Yeah, but like, just sort of wrapping it up now, I guess the
Yes,
point is
yes.
though, going back to Watch Dogs.
Right.
First one was not great, but Ubisoft said, "Fuck it, we're going to stick with it because it can be great, and we know it." If you look at EA instead, if they had made that game, they would never have made a second,
No.
let alone a third. They would have dumped that game as soon as the first one failed.
It's a
and moved
miracle that they did it for Battlefield though. Battlefront.
on.
Because the first one was an absolute disaster.
Absolutely. But to be fair, I feel like in partly the reason for that was, and I feel like the only reason EA was able to recover from Star Wars, despite the shit people give them, solely was because of Disney.
Yeah.
Because Battlefront 1 came out and Disney said, okay, not your best outing, but there's potential there. Like Battlefront
Here's
1
money, make another.
was a letdown, but it had potential and people could see it.
Yep.
And then Battlefront 2 came out, and that was the complete debacle and failure. And Papa Disney came like EA probably was sitting there going, "Yeah, we're the biggest guys in the gaming industry. No one can intimidate us." And then they hear, boom, 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 "This is Disney, open up!" And just everything came crashing through. And Disney were like, "Haha, you fucked up, motherfucker!" Giant Mickey Mouse there in like some Darth Vader costume, just force choking motherfuckers in EA left and right.
Yeah.
God, like, because that's the thing. If you're stepping into into Disney's house, EA, you now have to officially recognize you are no longer the big dog in that room. There is a bigger company that will absolutely fuck you up if you fail them.
Oh
And like that's the thing, like, and that's happened now. EA produced Battlefront 2. It failed. Jedi Fallen Order was great, but to be fair, that was probably because, let's be honest, Disney were holding their hand.
Yeah.
And then they made Squadron, which, to be fair, had potential, but it was a game I don't think anyone was asking for and hasn't done particularly well.
Just out of curiosity. Squadron engine.
Oh, actually, yeah.
Just want to know.
I don't think it can't be Frostbite.
Frostbite.
Oh my god.
Of course it is. Frostbite 3.
But anyway, and then they, like I said, they produced Squadron, which no one asked for, and everyone's like, it's cool, but it doesn't look that great, and it turned out not to be that great. And I think that must have been the final like line in the sand. And then they completely the complete butchering of Star Wars: The Old Republic,
Yep.
and then the complete, we gave up on Battlefront. Oh, Battlefront 2. Oh shit, we shouldn't have. And then Disney
Oh my
probably
god. Plants vs. Zombies is made on fucking. Oh, to be fair, it's a
pro-
shooter, so it kind of makes sense, I guess.
it's a mobile game though. Like,
No, it's not. No. This is a different one. This is Battle for Neighborville. This is like a proper like
I'm
third-person shooter.
sorry. The graphics must be so,
It was released on
great.
Windows, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One.
I think I have actually seen gameplay from that, and I
I've
will say
played it.
this:
It sucks.
it does not need Frostbite as well. It does not need an engine that good.
No, because it didn't need to be made in the first place.
God, but anyway, but either I think those three games, Squadron, the debacle of Battlefront 2, and then it making a comeback, and then EA just completely probably forgetting about it and going, oh okay, whoops,
Yeah,
and then
it's a
the
bit
butchering of
scummy.
and then Star Wars: The Old Republic and the Anthem fiasco. EA were probably like, hey, contract's running out. Do you want to? And then they were probably going, do you want to? And then Disney went, no, just cutting them off. Like, no, we don't want to renew our contract with you. You have failed me for the last time, Admiral. That is the living personification of that meme right now.
It really is.
It really is. Disney's on some small petty star, not Disney, goddammit, EA. All these companies
Yeah.
are the same. EA is on the small petty star destroyer. They're fucked up chasing money, which is basically the Millennium Falcon. And Disney's on the superstar destroyers, Darth Vader, just not having any of it. No. Disney strikes back, bitch.
EA's Thanos.
EA got Thanos. Oh god. Like, yeah, this EA is.
EA
I
is
know
General
this is
Snoke. And
EA is
fucking
General.
Bren is Disney.
Oh god.
But anyway, we are going to have to leave it at that because we can only stretch watch time for this long, especially for the three wonderful viewers who have, well, one of them is you, I'm guessing.
Yeah, one of
So
them.
the two wonderful viewers that have watched all the way to the end, which is like two more than average, I think.
Yeah.
So
Sure,
I'm quite happy with that.
I think we got 4 videos on. No, we got 7 on our last one. Damn.
Yeah, but I think live was also like 3 or 4 concurrent viewers, of which 2 of them are ourselves.
Yeah.
But hey, we're not doing this for the views. We're doing this for, getting the information out there and our thoughts and philosophical ideas about stocks.
Yeah.
No.
We are still kind of doing it for the views, to be fair.
We are very much doing it for the views. So,
I mean, that's the thing. I think in the end, if we were able to make a living off this, neither of us would be unhappy about that. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, if we could.
If we could.
But if you want to support us to get there, PayPal link in the description.
There isn't, isn't there?
There isn't one. No.
Fuck's sake.
And on that note, we shall part with you, but we will be back next week, 7:30 sharp. Maybe Josh will be there. I don't know. Depends on his availability.
Or maybe someone else.
Or maybe someone else. I mean, I've got a couple
I'm
of people
sure
in mind
one of
that
our
are more than
viewers
invited.
might join us.
Absolutely, I can probably scout some talent. I still have that one friend who wanted to talk to us about how he doesn't think Superman is a better superhero than Batman. So
Yep. Yep, that's.
You don't want him on, do you?
That's an opinion, and I will respectfully agree to disagree.
I will respectfully destroy his opinion. I said respectfully, so it's not that bad.
Look, you suck. With respect.
Yeah, with all due respect. You suck. Respectfully.
I have to ask Timmy, who's right? Us or Ron or that guy?
Oh no! Oh no!
I'm confused now because he just says he right, and there are 3 he's in this situation: myself, Ron, and the other guy.
Who knows?
We have time, Tammy. We
Who
can
knows?
wait for your response.
Or maybe next time, just join us
Oh.
live.
Okay. Two things. I'm not sure if Tammy misheard. This guy thinks Batman's a better superhero than Superman, and you hate Batman.
What if she hates
Okay.
Superman more?
Oh wow.
Maybe she's just
Oh.
stoking us. Okay, you know what? She's stoking us. It's not healthy to keep this running anymore. We're canceling the podcast, at least for today.
Tammy, when
We're canceling this episode of the podcast. It will not go any further.
Tammy, I will find you.
No,
And I will
no, no! Don't quote that, because that actor is in a Batman film.
Oh no, you're right. Shit. Okay.
No.
Wait,
Thank you
no,
very
no,
much for
sorry.
watching.
You think you're safe from me, Tammy? You think you're safe? I will find you. Like I see a quote Zod from Man of Steel.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Anyway, all death threats aside.
Actually, also, I guess now Tammy probably thinks Batman is better than Aquaman and Black Panther. So at least now we know that.
I'm confused by the comment section. You wanna check your bathroom real quick? See that your PS5 is safe there?
Not the PS5, PS4.
The PS4 even better.
Where it belongs in the
Where it belongs. Jesus Christ.
Anyway,
thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next week.
Before we can respond to Tammy, we'll end it there. So that way we all know I'm right.
Exactly.
And that's how she thinks.
Exactly. That's how it works. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.